What's up, guys? It is Michael and, of course,
Tommy
here with the Fast Lane car, and we have for you today a slightly different list than we did earlier in the week. Roman and I, 2 days ago, filmed the top 10 fastest cars you can buy in 2017 by top speed. However, there was one big issue with that list in that none of us can afford those cars. They're kind of out of our reach, and more importantly, there's no good places to go 200 plus miles an hour in the US. So we're coming back to you today with a different top 10 list, which is the top 10 quickest cars under $25,000. And there's actually a slight caveat with that too. Some of them are slightly over $25,000, but they all have a starting price that starts with the number 25 or less. So
yeah, exactly. So 26 is right out, but 24 is cool.
24 is cool. 25 something 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 is also cool for the purposes of including some decent cars.
And these are, of course, starting MSRPs, and we'll get into that in a second. Okay, let's do number 10.
Number 10 is the Mazda 3 with a 2.5 liter engine, Tommy.
Okay, so that comes in at $23,145 and can do 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds, 6.8 to be exact.
Now, to do that, you need a specific engine, which is the 2.5 liter, as I stated. That engine makes 184 horsepower and 185 pound-feet of torque. I have my handy-dandy little cheat sheet here. And that is paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission.
And we should say that I think all of these numbers actually are coming to us from our friends at Car and Driver. Car and Driver does some really fantastic independent testing using some super expensive equipment, and these numbers are pretty trustworthy. They're of course based out in California. I think California, right?
Yeah, California.
So they're coming to you pretty close to sea level at least. So 6.8 on that Mazda 3, but you have to have the bigger 2.5.
You have to have the bigger 2.5 and the 6-speed automatic to keep the price down.
Right. Okay, so number 9 is the Hyundai Elantra GT Sport, which I believe our friend Nathan just drove.
Nathan drove it and actually raved about it. He really liked that car. So that comes in at a MSRP of $23,250 with a 0 to 60 time of 6.7 seconds.
What kind of engine does it have?
Now that comes courtesy of a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder turbo.
Wow.
That makes 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 6-speed manual transmission.
That's pretty cool. You know, not too long ago, we'd never consider Hyundai, Kia a performance set of brands, but there's a couple cars actually on this list that they make, and that's courtesy, like you said, of these small forced induction 4-cylinder turbos, which seems to be a pretty big theme on our list, and we'll get into that going down.
You know the other cool thing about that car? It was actually tested on the Nürburgring. So it's got some
Was it really?
Yeah, it's got some serious performance sort of testing in its roots, which is kind of fun.
I did not know that. So keeping with the 4-cylinder turbo theme, we have number 8, the Ford Fiesta ST.
Yep, now that comes in at a grand total of $21,140, and that gets you a 0 to 60 time.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Really cheap. Of 6.7 seconds.
That's pretty good.
Now, as you said, Tommy, that is once again a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder turbo. This time it makes 197 horsepower and 202 pound-feet of torque. Once again paired with a 6-speed manual transmission.
And there's a new one coming, which is now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like a 1 liter 3-cylinder turbo,
it's
right?
Be the tiny little EcoBoost.
Right, in the new Fiesta ST. So super excited to see what that's going to be about. But the current Fiesta is really good value. I didn't realize it was that affordable.
Yeah, great value, a lot of fun to drive. It's just super tossable, super small, really lightweight.
Right.
Blast to drive.
Well, people always focus now on the new Focus RSs and the top of the line. Ford performance vehicles, even going up to the GT, but you got to keep in mind that some of the most fun you can have in an affordable Ford is right at the bottom of the price range.
That's right.
So number 6 is the Honda Civic Si.
Yeah, now that comes in at $23,900 with a 0 to 60 time of 6.5 seconds.
And these are all 2017 cars. 6.5 is very respectable for that Civic Si. For this new generation, of course, that Civic is Induction. Yeah. Force inducted. And the previous Civic SIs were naturally aspirated.
Right.
With that ever famous VTEC. So
now it's a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder, which is a goofy size, but that makes 205 horsepower, 192 pound-feet of torque. And once again, this is a really big theme for this list, a 6-speed manual transmission. The manual transmissions help keep costs down. That's usually the standard, cheaper option. So you'll see a lot of cars on this list with that transmission.
Yeah, and that 6-speed in that Civic Si is just phenomenal. The funny thing about the Civic Si, too, is there's also a Civic Sport with also a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine. And to be honest, the body kit and body inspiration for the Sport is very similar to the SI. So you still have like the center-mounted exhaust, albeit a little bit different looking. And that's going to be a little bit slower, but still a really, really great value. We had one in the studio a while ago now, and it was a lot of fun.
Okay, Tommy, next up on the list is the Subaru Brz/Toyota 86. That comes in a little pricey at $25,495, but it's still within sort of $25,000 range.
If you can find one.
Yeah, if you can find one.
5,495.
And it comes in at a 0 to 60 time of 6.5 seconds.
Right. And we will never see that number up here at 5,000 feet because in our experience driving the FRS and now the GT86 series of 4 cylinders without forced induction, there's that word I got that time.
It is.
It really struggles. It just doesn't have the torque really to provide a lot of performance. Feeling just a lot of grunt up here at altitude.
Yeah, so this was actually kind of a last-minute addition to our list, and I don't have the exact numbers, but if my memory serves me well, which it usually does, it has a 2-liter flat-4 engine with roughly 200 horsepower and roughly 200 pound-feet of torque. I think it's slightly under on the torque and slightly over on the horsepower.
Yeah, and you'll see that the BRZ also has a performance package, which according to car and driver testing will lower that 0 to 60 just a little bit. And their Toyota version, the GT86, is more expensive. That starts in the 26s for the 2017 model year. Right. But if you want the fun and the thrills of a rear-wheel drive sports coupe, that's kind of one of the more affordable bets out there.
Yep.
So moving on, we've got the number 5 car, which is also an affordable Ford, the Focus ST.
That's right. The Focus ST comes in at $24,775, and it gets you to 60 in 6.3 seconds. We're really quickly approaching the 5-second times here.
Yeah.
Now that comes courtesy of a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo that makes 252 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque, which is a lot of power and a lot of torque.
That's pretty good.
I've driven that car as well. Total blast to drive. It has sort of a augmented sound, but I actually really like it. It's very induction-y sounding. It kind of vibrates this little thing in the dashboard. But I'll drink the Kool-Aid. It's a lot of fun to drive. Great car.
Now at number 4, we have one of my favorite cars, which is the Mini Cooper S. Okay, here's the deal with the Cooper S. That's another car where you may be able to theoretically get it to start in the 25s, but you will never see a Cooper S in the 25s. You'll be lucky to see a Cooper S in the 20s. Let alone the mid-20s. And Mini is notorious for this. They just have so many options, and they're so individual that you can go out and do anything you want. But of course, that all costs a lot of money. And we had we drove the JCW a while ago, and we were quickly approaching the 40s with that car. And that's a 2-liter 4-cylinder.
Yep.
BMW really loves their 2-liter 4-cylinder turbos now. Yeah. If you get the regular Mini Cooper, you have a 1.5 3-cylinder turbo. Yeah. So not a 4-cylinder, 3-cylinder, but that's a little bit slower. But if you do go for the Cooper S with the 4-cylinder, you'll be hitting 0 to 60 in the low 6s, 6.2-ish.
Now that engine makes 189 horsepower, 207 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
And I should add one thing, actually. That you're right. You're never going to actually hit that number of 25.2 because you can only have one paint color that'll get you that cheap, and it's the Nardo gray, that kind of flat gray color. So yeah, that you'll never find a Mini that cheap. But technically, it's theoretically possible.
Sorry, and kind of the smaller wheels as well. You're not going to get any of the cool,
you're not gonna find
fancy wheels. And now to a car that I guess squirmed its way on its list.
Squirmed its way on this list because I'm extremely biased, and that is, of course, the car behind us, which is my car, the Volkswagen Golf Gti. Now, it starts currently for a 2017 at $25,595. However, you can still pick up new 2016s for $24,995. And actually, with all this Dieselgate stuff still kind of in the aftermath, that we're in the aftermath of, Volkswagen's been dealing on cars pretty heavily lately, so you can actually find one of those probably in the 23s if you looked hard enough.
Wow.
Now that, of course, has a two-cylinder, a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo that makes 210 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 6-speed manual transmission, which is exactly what that car has. Fun fact, mine was actually in the 24s. I have 0 options on it. I don't have the performance pack. I don't have the lighting package. The only options I do have are rubber floor mats and driver assistance package, which is like a hazard symbol.
But you have those cool plaid seats, right?
I have those cool plaid seats and that little golf ball for a shift knob. It's a great car. It's just tons of fun. I've had it for 2 years. It has 13,000 miles on it. I've averaged 27 miles to the gallon.
Yep.
And on a recent trip up into the mountains, which was roughly 300 miles, I actually got 38 mpg.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
great.
pretty quick.
It's really fun.
So, Andrew, do we have any interesting comments, questions, concerns?
Before
telling
we get
us
into this,
we're done?
before we get into this top 3 or top 2 plus the bonus.
No major concerns, but people say they love our drag racing videos. So will you guys do more?
Tommy, I think we have a little drag race planned pretty soon, actually.
We do have some drag race videos. We always love to do drag racing videos because it's fun to talk about these numbers, but they are usually completely different if we go out. Did you hear that voice crack?
Yeah.
Completely different if we go out in the real world and really start hammering on these cars. You'll start to see some surprising results, like the Subaru Brz is a claimed 6.5. Our car and driver may have gotten the mid-6s, but up here we could get into even the mid-7s, the low 7s. So it could be that one of our slower cars, like a Force-inducted Elantra GT, might actually be quicker than something like a BRZ, even though on paper, according to these really professional, really well-done results, it's faster.
Yeah. And actually, before we move on, I forgot to say the 0 to 60 time on the GTI. It's 5.9 seconds. So we're under 6 seconds now, which is
Pretty cool.
pretty quick for any car, really.
Yeah.
So on to number 2.
Well, Andre has another question.
Oh, just a comment. 1970 Honda CL100 says he's making pizza. Do you want any?
I
Yes.
would love pizza. I'm really hungry.
Yes,
Yeah.
please send us the pizza.
Please, pizza, please. Pepperoni, if you have it.
All right. So number
Moving
2
on.
is the Mazda Miata, and then the Fiat is kind of the 124 is kind of in a similar range,
Yeah.
but the Mazda Miata will do 0 to 60 once again in that very high 5 figure, which is pretty impressive. But that does without the forced induction. That does with just a traditionally naturally aspirated. I just can't talk today.
We're having issues today.
Naturally aspirated 4-cylinder.
There you go. It makes 155 horsepower, 148 pound-feet of torque. It comes in at $24,965.
Yeah, well, that's another one that you'd probably have a hard time finding.
Yeah,
for-
you're gonna have issues finding. Those probably keep their values.
And if
simple
you
and
want the RF, that cool retractable fastback, that's going to be more expensive
cheap. And slower.
and a little heavier. It's a little
Yeah,
heavier.
It's a little heavier.
Yeah, and the number 1 car on the list, we have to end with a muscle car,
Yep.
albeit one that's actually going away.
Yeah, it is going away, and that is of course the Ford Mustang V6. 2017 is the last year you can buy the V6. Next year they're going to switch to just the EcoBoost and the V8, which honestly, in my opinion, if you're going to buy a Mustang, you should just buy the V8 anyways. That being said, you can get some serious performance out of a V6 Mustang.
We had the old V6 a long while ago, and it was like a 2013 when they kind of updated it in the previous generation, and it was really fun.
Yeah.
I thought I was on the board. You needed the V8, or it's not a real Mustang, but the V6 and the Mustang turned out to be pretty fun. The issue is, of course, that all the rental Mustangs tend to be the V6s.
Yeah, they do.
The
Yeah.
fleet cars,
Fleet.
but it's still a lot of fun. And our bonus car is actually like that
Oh,
too.
wait, hold on.
Yeah.
5.5 seconds to 60 and a starting price of $25,185. Now we can move on.
It's pretty good.
It's good. It's quick. It's a lot of fun. It's cheap.
Yeah,
value.
it's
Yeah.
pretty affordable.
That's good.
On our bonus cars, also, of course, it has to be the competitor to the Mustang, the Camaro with the 2-liter 4-cylinder this time, though.
Yeah, that's right. So that comes in. The reason this is our bonus is because it's really on the high end of the 25s. It's 25,905, so you're quickly approaching 26,000, which would put it out of our list there. It does 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds with, of course, a 6-speed manual transmission.
Is that the manual or the automatic?
That's the manual.
Really?
Yeah, it's
In the Camaro?
Yep.
That would do the 5.4? Interesting.
Yep.
Okay, so of course we have the Mustang, we have the Camaro. Where's the Challenger? Well, you can actually get a Challenger in the 25 range. And when you can get a Challenger in the 25, that Pentastar will do 0 to 60 in like the low 6s.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit slower, and that could be because that V6 Mustang and the 4-cylinder Camaros, those really have become pretty high-performance engines, high-performance vehicles.
Yep.
And the V6 Challenger is still using that Pentastar, which is kind of a corporate V6.
Sure.
Albeit one with a pretty decent amount of horsepower, but not given the fact that it's super heavy. And we have another FCA product as our second bonus.
We have a double bonus. So this is actually something you can get for under $20,000. Forget 25. That is, of course, the Fiat 500 Abarth, or Abarth, however you want to say it. It does 0 to 60 in 7 seconds, which is pretty respectable, considering it has just a 1.4-liter 4-cylinder turbo that makes 160 horsepower and 170 pound-feet of torque.
But I'm willing to bet that that's the best sounding car on our list. 'Cause
Yeah.
those Abarth sound so
They
good.
sound awesome because the engine is so tiny and so clean.
Well, they're
that-
essentially straight pipe. From
yeah,
the
they don't
factory.
really have. They only have one cat, I think, if any. And so yeah, they basically have a straight pipe, so they sound awesome. Really angry, kind of growly little sound.
So that's a really, really fun little car. And the
Yeah.
cool. So we're not talking about used cars in this list. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
do that next time. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll
we
find
could
like
do,
the fastest car
used
under
cars.
5K or something.
Yeah.
But if you are looking for a 500 Abarth, used they depreciate incredibly
Really
fast.
fast.
Super, super fast.
I bet you can get one under 15 that's no more than
Oh.
2 years old easily.
Yeah, easily. So that would be one that I'd probably buy used. Then you have to deal with the kind of the legendary Fiat reliability, which unfortunately has returned to America.
You know, I've heard actually the engine itself is great, but the electronics is the problem.
everything
with
that
car.
kind of surrounds the
Yeah,
engine,
everything
yeah.
else is no good.
But really like the 500 Abarth. My dad, Roman, if you don't know. By the way, side note.
Speaking of dads, yeah, there is no one at TFL that I am related to. Nathan is not my dad. Roman's not my dad. My dad lives in Seattle. He's a great guy. He also likes cars, but he does not work for TFL. I really have to clear that up.
Michael is brothers with Andre, though, so
That's
we are
also not true.
So, just clear that up. But my dad really loved the 500 Abarth when it came out. So, any final questions, Andre?
Yeah, anything else?
Well, people are commenting on a lot of drag racing, and people want to see the Civic SI versus the Elantra GT Sport,
That would
That'd
be a
be
really
cool.
good drag
which
race.
we actually have an opportunity to do, so we're working on that.
Yeah.
And also, people are saying, muscle cars are really about V8 engines, so that was a comment about the
Yeah,
V6
I
and
mean,
the 4-cylinder.
There's something, the V8 is probably a dying breed, right, Tommy? I mean, more and more companies are moving away from that into 6-cylinder turbos. And now is a good opportunity. I think you can buy a Mustang V8 for somewhere in the low 30s, or mid to low 30s, and there's nothing like a nice V8, naturally aspirated. That sound, the power, it's really fun.
Well, the thing too is that the current generation Camaro has become such a tight performance vehicle. It's becoming so much more of a sports car than it was a muscle car.
Even the Mustang too. They're both really moving more towards the
Yeah.
sports car category.
And nobody would challenge a 2-liter 4-cylinder in a sports car. So I don't know why that's a hard concept in a lot of ways to put it in a Camaro. Granted, the Camaro has this long and the Mustang has this long history of
Yeah.
big burly V8s. But they become such sharp tools on tracks and on your local twisty roads and autocross that having those 2 liters or the V6s make a lot of sense. And we had that V6 with the exhaust that completely changes in the Camaro, that completely changes the tone, and it sounded really good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
it
was
sounds
really
great.
fun. Any others, Andre?
There's a question about which shows we're going to be attending, like as far as auto shows.
All
and-
of them.
All of them. L.A., New York,
SEMA,
Detroit,
yeah.
SEMA,
Probably
Chicago.
Not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chicago. My dad does
Um,
Miami usually.
Yeah, Miami.
Um,
Denver. We'll be at Denver this year probably.
yes, we always go to Denver.
Not that it's a big show, but we still like to go.
So, guys, we hope you enjoyed this top 10 fastest car or quickest cars actually under 25K, 0 to 60 wise. As always, thank you to Car Driver for doing these awesome testings to really get these figures that maximize the car's potential. That's pretty cool of them. And check out tflcar.com if you want more information on, I think we've reviewed all of these cars
All of them. Yeah.
at least one time or another. So head there for more information.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I am, of course, Michael,
And Tommy, Michael is not Nathan's son
or Roman's son.
or Andre's brother.
Nope.
We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.